Six of Cups. Big D. Nine of Wands. The Star. Six of Swords. Okay. Eight of Cups. And what else popped out? We have Five of Wands, of course. And the King of Pentacles. I'm getting the sense that there's someone from your past that is weighing heavily, or that you walked away from at this time. You might have gotten into an argument or a sword fight with this person. You kind of picked up your belongings, you turned your back to them, and you carried on in your life. You said goodbye because it was, you know, we have two cards here with your back turned. So you're taking the lessons learned, you're taking what you have left, and you're moving on. Or you have moved on, and you're taking, you know, what's left in your heart. You know, learning the lesson emotionally and moving on from it, which is actually helping you become more grounded with the Star, right? You know, card, which is actually helping you kind of glow into your truth. But this was heavily weighing on you. This is, you know, the card of the wounded warrior, the Nine of Wands. So you were going at it for a while. This was a long distance run. This was a long term fight. You might have been in conflict with this person for a very long time. They were not good energy here. We see this with the Devil here. Obviously, no one wants him around. He sucks, and he ruins the party. He might have ruined parties on you. He might have ruined special occasions for you. This is very narcissistic energy. It's kind of like the bully in the playpen vibe, where if they see you being happy or getting any sort of recognition or attention, then they will immediately ruin that for you and take the attention back onto them. That's basically what a narcissist will do, because they're just tantrumy 2-year-olds inside, and if they see someone else getting any sort of limelight or attention or affection in any kind of way, they will immediately fight. They'll literally fight you to get the attention back on them. Like the spotlight can only be on them, kind of feeling, right? So you had to deal with this in your childhood. This is someone that looks almost what's the right word? Indestructible, but that's not the right word. It's more like you can't compete with this guy, the King of Pentacles. This might be someone that's very prominent or has a lot of money or just has a lot of authority. And you butt heads with this person, and you almost had no way to win, but you still tried, because you have heart, you have soul, and you have an undying fight in you that will always stand back up and try again. But when you do that for a long period of time, you start to realize that fighting narcissism, narcissistic people around you, being around these types of people constantly has a huge effect on your physical health and your mental health. Basically, your whole life is affected by people like this. So after a while, which could be your whole childhood, unfortunately, kids don't have a say in who their parents are. And if they get stuck in a bad household, or with a bad parent or bad parents, or just bad situation in general, if you're adopted or something like that, you are a slave. You have no say as a child to leave, get out, unless you run away or you fight back against authority, which generally doesn't go well for the kid, right? So if you were a kid in this sort of situation where you felt stuck against an authoritative figure that wasn't healthy for you, Yeah, he had you kind of like, he was like sitting on top of your shoulders constantly, or you were just around a lot of fighting, a lot of control, a lot of manipulation, a lot of gaslighting, psychological manipulation, which is the most detrimental, by the way, because psychological abuse lasts forever. It takes a really long time to unravel the layers of what psychological abuse can do, especially to a kid. So usually, in any kind of therapeutic atmosphere, we always look at our childhood experiences because that's what dictates our behaviors and our habits going forward, unless we get conscious enough and honest enough to recognize what happened, address it, and then grow from it. But there's a lot of us that don't do that. And for whatever reason, maybe you're afraid to learn the truth, you're afraid to go through the process, blah, blah, blah. You're already hurt anyway, you might as well go through the healing process. But a lot of people get scared, and then they just live in this reactionary state where they're never really fully conscious about what they're doing. They're just constantly reacting. And that can be troublesome, especially if you come from a troubling background where there's a lot of fighting, manipulation, psychological abuse, physical abuse, whatever it is, all of it. You have to realize eventually that you can't withstand it. And unfortunately, when I go back to the kid situation, you might be stuck with an individual for 20 years until you can get out of whatever situation you're in. So there's this unfortunate situation with kids that don't get born into healthy families, and they become this, I don't know what the right word would be, you're basically like a prisoner, until you can get old enough to either run away, escape, or get a job, go about it the right way and leave. But it takes a couple decades to do that. So I see that, I think you held on as much as possible. You kind of took the beatings, whether it was psychologically or any kind of abuse. Like you took what you could, you fought back, you did kind of stand up for yourself, right? Like as much as you possibly could with the tools and the knowledge that you had. And as a kid, you don't have any knowledge on it. You can't even comprehend it because you don't have any other experiences to compare to it. So you're just living in the moment, right? And you think that that's just life, but then you have nothing to compare it to. So again, the kid is more of a prisoner of their situation. They don't have a say in what goes down. They don't have a say of how they're treated by their parents, especially if their parent is not good to them, right? They're not actual real parents. They treat their kids like objects. They treat their kids like something that would help them out, right? It could get even worse than that. But whatever the case is, you had to withstand it, I'll call it, for an insurmountable amount of time. But you moved on. There's a lot of moving on here, And now you have to plan on where you're going next. That's the thing too, that a lot of people miss, because if they have never been in the situation themselves, they don't understand the steps involved to get out of a situation like that. It requires a lot of planning. You can't just jump out of a moving car. Like, you can, but good luck with that. Kind of good luck with that, because you're putting yourself at risk again. Sometimes you have to outweigh the risks if you're in a really tight situation, but for the most part, if you can and are able to, before you leave a certain situation, you have to have a plan involved. You can't just blindly do things, because you have to play chess with certain types of people, especially manipulative people, because they're playing chess on you. They already thought about things, 4 steps ahead of you. So in order to counteract that, or to be smart in what you choose to do going forward, you have to have a plan. Your plans can change. It doesn't have to be set in stone, but at least have the blueprint of what you're going to do, where you're going to go, who you're going to tell, who you're not going to tell. You have to vet everyone around you, because you don't know who you can really trust either. Sometimes, unfortunately, we think that our family and our friends are going to be on our side, but lo and behold, when you get older, that's not usually the case, or it could not be the case, right? Like, if you could have people around you that will turn on you easily for whatever their ego is going through, for whatever reason, they're not going to have your back. And you have to be very careful on who you choose to tell what you're going to do next, or where you're going, or where you went to, kind of thing. Well, it turns around for you, at least, right? This is giving me the story of just because you start off in a really messed up situation doesn't mean that you don't have a chance to get to where you're going. Some people lose hope, and then they give up even trying, because they don't think that they have the access or the ability or the strength or the whatever, right? Whatever excuse that they want to give themselves, they don't feel like they have the chance to get to here. Or maybe they feel like they don't deserve it, right? Which also goes back to psychological abuse. What happens is that people's self-esteem gets so demolished, right, that they don't even believe themselves that they are not able to get it, but they shouldn't get it, right? Because they've been told their whole lives that they don't deserve anything. And that is the real eerie part of that type of abuse, is that we give a lot of strength and validity to the words that are being told to us as kids, especially, even as adults, even as plants. There's been studies about, you talking bad to one plant, you talking good to the other plant, and one plant's going to grow better. It's all about energy, right? But words are part of energy, and words clarify what we actually feel. So if you had an abusive parent, per se, or parents that constantly talked down to you, right, and they constantly demolished your self-esteem, or they demeaned you, they embarrassed you, they humiliated you, they told you that you didn't deserve anything, they told you that you were stupid, or you're whatever it is, right? All these negative things. As a kid, again, you have nothing to compare it to, so you believe everything that you're told, and then you internalize the words that these people are telling you. Now, it can go good or bad with that situation. Like, if you constantly praise, your kids, that can have a good approach, and that can also have a bad approach and make them like narcissistic as well. If you overly praise someone where they could do no wrong ever, they develop a complex of like never being able to make a mistake. But kind of reinforcing to your small kids that they are worth living, they're worth being in this room, they're worth being heard, they're worth being seen, they're worth being listened to, they're worth being treated well. If that kid doesn't have that scenario in life, and they have the exact opposite, where they're shunned, silenced, told that they don't amount to anything, told them they're fat, they're stupid, they're ugly, they're blah, 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 they're to this, to that, and they're constantly demeaned, that little kid internalizes those words. And it takes a really long time, if not a lifetime, to unpack that as an adult, because it's been so internalized within themselves that they become that identity just by listening to the words told to them over and over again. So you don't think it works? Well, what do you think mantras is? What are mantras? What are prayers? They're words being spoken over and over again in a positive fashion, right? You know, when you, incantations, mantras, you know, like I am here, I am this. Those are very powerful words to say, I am ... We just brush it off lightly, but it's not a light statement, because what you tell yourself, what other people tell you, you internalize. So as a kid, you don't have enough strength, willpower, autonomy to be like, fuck these people. I know that I'm worth it. I know what I am made inside of, right? And these people's opinions are just opinions. Kids don't know that. They even have that option. They're just told things, and then they just have to regurgitate it and believe it. So if that kid is in a bad situation where they have parents that are abusive to them, it's going to take a lifetime to unpack the identity that they built up within themselves because of the words being spoken to them. If that makes sense.